How's it going, guys? It's Najam. Welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to review the Pentax Q7. The Pentax Q7 is still the smallest interchangeable lens camera, even smaller than the Micro Four Thirds system. And of course it's not the camera that defines the size of a system, it's actually the lenses. And compared to the Micro Four Thirds system, the Pentax Q system has much smaller lenses. For example, here's the 01 standard prime lens on the Pentax Q system, next to the equivalent, which is the 20mm f1.7 on the Micro Four Thirds system. As you can see, just by the size of the lenses, the Pentax Q lens is quite a bit smaller. Let's quickly go over some basic specs on this camera. It does have a flash, it's got a hot shoe mount on the top. It has a 12 megapixel 1/1.7 of an inch sensor, which is really nice. On the front you do have a quick access mode dial, and you can set that up in the settings with the multiple options. The SD card slot is on the right side of the camera, and on the left side you do have the battery slot. You can pop up the flash with the lever on the top. The drive mode is on the front, and it has a dial on the top, which is the main dial to change all the settings in the camera. Now the display on this camera is very nice. It's not groundbreaking. You will want to use focus peaking, which if you use manual lenses, which is one of the things this camera is famous for, is being able to use different lenses on this camera. But because the display resolution is small, you will want to use focus peaking. So we can go ahead and set that up in the settings, and I've got it set to the mode dial on the front so I can have it on and off. The Pentax Q lenses are really cool. I've got all the lenses except the 08, and that's because the 08 is about £700, and that clearly is not worth for me spending that much money on a lens on this camera. Now, to be fair, it is a rectilinear lens with 15mm of field of view on a Pentax Q system, which is amazing compared to even the smartphones in this day and age. It's a really wide lens, and it's a really high quality lens. That's why it's really expensive. I do have the 03 FishEye Lens, which you can use and defish in post-processing, and you can get a really wide field of view on that. Now, my favorite lenses for the Pentax Q are the 01 standard prime lens. This is like your nifty 50. The Pentax Q7 has a slightly bigger sensor than the original Q, so the field of view is a bit wider. Instead of being a nifty 50, it's a 45mm equivalent, which is also a very nice focal length. And my Q7 came with the kit lens, which as you can see is the yellow color. This is the 02 standard zoom lens, which is equivalent to a 24 to 80mm. It has an aperture of f2.8 at the wide end, which is really cool. Compared to the Micro Four Thirds lens, the Panasonic 14 to 42mm is brighter, and it's also a bit smaller as well. The FishEye lens is very cool. It does have a bulgy element on the front, and you're going to want to cover that with the lens cover that comes with. I have got the other toy lenses. I might show some examples if I find some in my library, but I don't really use them that much, although they are very fun to use, mainly because of the size. They are really small. And the 06 tele zoom lens is amazing. It's a continuous f2.8 aperture from the wide end all the way to the long end, and is equivalent to a 70 to 200mm. So essentially you've got a 70 to 200mm in your bag, and it's really light. And that's my favorite lens to use with this camera, because I really like to zoom in and then get some detailed shots. The Pentax Q7 also has 1080p video, and it does have image stabilization in the video as well. I wouldn't recommend this for a video camera, but the video is actually pretty nice from the camera. Now, the battery life on this camera is not the best. I would recommend picking up another battery or two just to get throughout the whole day if you want to carry this around for the whole day. Now, I'm going to go over what I like about this camera. Number one, I love the size of it. It's very small. It is one of the smallest cameras, and that's what I love about this. The second thing I love about this is the build quality. It is an absolute solid camera. It may be a small camera, but Pentax still made this out of a really good material, and it feels really high end. Mine looks almost brand new, even though I've had this for years, which is very cool, and I do take care of my products. Now, one of the other things I love about this camera is, and this Panasonic GM5 is missing this, and also the GM1 is missing this, the Pentax Q7 has IBIS, and that makes a huge difference. Now, you could argue that with the Panasonic cameras, you do have optical image stabilizer in the lenses. And from my experience, I'm going to be honest with you, even with the IBIS in this system, you can use a slower shutter speed on the Panasonic cameras, Micro Four Thirds cameras. So you will get a better image quality out of them. But this has IBIS. I have used other lenses on the GM5, and because it doesn't have optical image stabilizer and it doesn't have IBIS either, it's just very hard to use under low light conditions. Whereas with this, if you use the 01 standard prime lens, you can walk about in the night time doing some street photography, and you can use a tenth of a second or sometimes a quarter of a second as well, which is very, very nice. So I love the fact that it has an IBIS on this. Another thing I love about this camera is the grip. Again, I'm not trying to compare it to the GM5, but in a way, I guess I'm doing that. The Pentax Q7 has an amazing grip. You can hook your hands around it, which is very, very nice, and it's an excellent grip. It is a very small camera, so you're not going to be holding it like a DSLR, but the grip is just very, very nice. Now I know a lot of people out there use the GM5 with the attachment on, so you can just get a grip on it. Well, the Pentax Q7, it comes with a grip, which is very, very nice, and this texture on the grip with the leather surface adds to the grip, so the grip is very, very nice. And finally, one of the other things I love about this camera is the image quality. Yes, I get it, it might be like a really tiny sensor, or it might be only be 12 megapixels, but that's actually my favorite setup. A really small sensor with enough megapixels to actually get a decent sized image. The Pentax Q7 does all of that, and it's just amazing. The image quality is very, very nice from this camera, especially using some of the higher quality lenses like the 06 or the 02 or the 01 when you stop it down. It is very, very cool. Now you can't expect medium format 50 megapixel level images, but if you want a shallow depth of field, you can actually get shallow depth of field on this camera. You can just move in closer, especially with the 01 standard prime lens. You can move in close, and then it gives you a very, very beautiful out of focus areas. It's very, very nice. Now we're going to have to go over to some of the things I don't like about this camera. Now there's not going to be much, but I'm going to have to point them out, and that is number one, the size. I know what you're wondering, but I like the size of this camera. It's a very, very small camera. I said I like the size, but I actually don't like the size for one simple reason, and that is, while this is the smallest interchangeable lens camera, I wouldn't call this the most pocketable camera. And I like a camera that I can fit in my pocket because then it's with me all the time. Now the Pentax Q with the 01 standard prime lens, while it is a very, very small setup, you can see that it is not very slim setup, especially compared to some of the other pocket cameras that I've got. Now, of course, this is a different camera. It has interchangeable lenses, but let's go ahead and put on the 02, and you can see even with a standard zoom range, it's not a pocketable camera. This looks like putting a cube inside your pocket, and you can have fun with that. And especially with the 06 tele lens, you can't fit this in your pocket. It's not I wouldn't call this a pocket camera. Now you do have the shield mount lens or the very, very small toy lenses, which is fair enough. You can shove it in your pocket, but again, if you look at the thickness of the body, this is not a slim camera. It's not as slim as some of the other cameras, and especially even compared to the GM5, it's not as slim, although that has its own problems. Now with the smaller lenses, with the toy lenses, you can shove it in the pocket, but the thing is, you're using f7.1 or f8 apertures, which is just horrendous, and that's not the worst thing, which I'm fine with, I don't mind, but the toy lenses have just weird focus, like they really are toy lenses. I mean, you put them in your pocket and the focus is just gone way off, and that's the most annoying thing about them lenses. Now if you do carry this in the handbag, this is perfect. You can put a 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 equivalent in your bag, which is awesome. And compared to the other systems, it's going to take up much, much less space, and especially compared to even the Micro Four Thirds system, it's going to take up much, much less space. Other thing I don't like about this is that it doesn't have custom modes. I know that there is a dial on the front, which is very, very cool, which is a function dial, but that's just for one option, and I've got it marked to as focus peaking on and off. But you can't have an actual custom mode, which is something that I've got into recently, and all my other cameras seem to have it. Even the SD1 Meryl has that. So I can have a different mode, so I can have a night mode and a daylight mode, so I can shoot in the night and the daylight differently. So to conclude this review, the Pentax Q system is really, really cute. It's very, very small. It has IBIS, and you can get C-mount lenses or other lenses. The crop factor is about, I believe, 4.7, which is amazing. So just times that by, like, let's see, 200 millimeters times by 4.7. That's almost like 1000 millimeters. And you can do wildlife photography on this. You won't be carrying around a really huge weight, and you can get amazing images with this that you won't be able to get with other cameras, especially at this size. Now compared to some pocket cameras that have the same sensor, Well, you won't be able to do that because they don't have interchangeable lenses, and you do have interchangeable lenses on the Pentax Q. Anyways, I'll end the video here. Just ask me if you have any questions in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video.